Romanian Football Podcast.
I want us to do a profile on Radu Dragusin, who is expected to join Tottenham this week. Personal terms have been agreed. There's not much distance between Genoa's demands of €30 million transfer fee and Tottenham's offer, which I believe is around about 25 originally. So there's not much to bridge there. He's a 21-year-old centre-back. He's been one of the breakout stars in Serie A this season. He's been watched by a number of clubs, Premier League clubs like Liverpool and Arsenal, Newcastle, also Italian clubs like Milan and Napoli. His development is a very, very interesting one. He was signed by Juventus in 2018, and at the time Juventus beat a number of big clubs to him: Chelsea, PSG, Atletico Madrid. Juventus signed him for €250,000, and he started off in the youth teams. He worked his way up to the next gen team before being called up by Andrea Pirlo when he was the manager during the COVID season, 2020-21 season. And he was a teenager at that time. He made 4 appearances that season in all competitions. And he didn't play that much, but he was seen as quite an interesting talent. He spent the next season, 21-22, on loan with Sampdoria and Salernitana in Serie A. He made 22 appearances across both teams. Sampdoria got relegated, and Genoa brought him in first on loan with an option to buy, and he played a very, very important role last season as Genoa got promoted. And this season, back in Serie A, he has been a key man for a Genoa team who, as we said before when we were talking earlier in the show about the draw with Inter, they're doing well this season. They're producing a lot of very talented players. Albert Gudmundsson, who I think is going to join a big club this summer. He's also been linked to a Premier League move, Aston Villa. Matteo Retegui, of course, is a goal scorer. Frendrup, who some of his stats are insane this season in centre midfield. Radu Dragusin is one of these guys who, he's going to join Spurs, and he's got the ability to play for a bigger team than Genoa. And he's if I tell you what kind of player he is, he's a very aggressive defender, very strong mentality. He's first in Serie A this season for tackle success rate for players that have attempted 15 plus tackles a game. He's rarely dribbled past. He's only been dribbled past once this season. He's ranked 5th in Serie A for number of clearances averaged per game. I think his best attribute is probably aerially. He's brilliant in the air. He's second in Serie A for defenders for aerials won per game. 3.7 aerials won on average per match. Only Udinese's Jacobillo has more. That makes him 5th among all players. It's actually pretty tight from 2nd to 4th. Then you've got Juric, the big monster, who's just every season he's way out ahead of everyone. Juric. So yes, if Dragusin was to replicate these kind of numbers, aerial numbers at Tottenham, he would instantly become one of the best defenders in the league aerially, and that obviously makes him a threat from set pieces. He scored twice this season. He scored the winner against Verona, and he scored the equaliser in the last game last weekend against Inter to earn Genoa a point. So I think in terms of his aggression and his aerial strength, he is well suited to the Premier League. But I do think he does have some weaknesses. I mean, I've watched more of him at Juventus than at Genoa. He was very impulsive at Juventus. If you think of Tottenham fans that are listening to this, think of a young Christian Romero who's very aggressive, likes to do interceptions, comes out of his area or his zone, let's say, with his impulsiveness, and he's a bit like that. He needs to rein that in, and I think he has started to rein that in as he's matured, but he can still be a bit too aggressive, kind of vacating his position, trying to win a ball when sometimes he needs to be conservative. That's always been my criticism with Romero, and still is, to be honest with you. At Juventus, his passing was a weakness. It has improved since then, but I think there will still be question marks there. He was compared by a colleague of mine, my football transfers colleague Sam Maguire, as a very poor man's Virgil van Dijk. So take that as you want. I mean, it's very poor man's Virgil van Dijk is the words used. So, take that as you want to take it. He plays in a back three at Genoa. So he will need to adapt to Tottenham's back four. I'm not sure what system Romania use. Plays for the Romanian national team. But for Genoa anyway, in club football, he'll need to adapt. Also, the styles of play are very different. Genoa play counter-attacking football under Alberto Gilardino. They average only 42% possession a game, which is the third lowest in Serie A. They sit back and basically hit on the transitions. Whereas, of course, Ange Postecoglou, we know he plays front foot football. He likes to dominate possession, a high press, very high line, 59% average a game, which I don't know where that sits in the Premier League. It must be after City. It must be the second highest after City. Maybe Brighton. I don't know. But anyway, it's one of the highest in the Premier League. So it's going to be it's going to be a big change from style of play. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Dragusin's going to do. I don't want to come out either way and say. I mean, with Adarji, I was certain he would be a big hit. With Vicario, I was certain. We interviewed Adarji. We profiled Vicario and we said as much. With Dragusin, I don't know. I'm on the fence with him. What do you think of Dragusin? How he's going to do there?
Yeah, I'm very much on the fence. I'm very much on the fence with him as well. I think it's too soon to say anything definitive, but I mean, he's had a very good season with Genoa so far. He's a youngster, and of course, Tottenham feel that he could potentially be a fantastic find. And for Genoa, it's a no-brainer because the amount of money on offer here. But he has interesting pedigree, Dragusin, because his mother and father, are both former Romanian internationals in basketball and volleyball, and he's got a sister, younger sister, who also plays basketball. So it's a sporting family. It's one of those things in today. I haven't done any, I haven't studied it, but it's very interesting to see how many of these young players who come from sporting families, and he's another one. It's interesting. But look, I think I can't imagine that Spurs are buying him to start. I mean, he's turning 20. He turns 22 in early February. So I think
they've had an injury crisis at centre back, haven't they? And they've been playing fullbacks at centre back for quite a while now, and Romero's out for a while, isn't he? So I think Van der Ven and Romero are going to be the first choice, aren't they? And then he's going to be,
of course,
behind them. But they need someone, and I think Todibo was their first choice, I believe. Well, I'm sure that I know that he was their first choice. So he's kind of a backup option, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think from Genoa's point of view, like you said, it's a great profit. They signed him for 5.5 million, and that only was made permanent, I believe, this summer, wasn't it? Because he was on loan, or this past summer, because he was on loan for the first bit. So it's a huge profit from 5.5 to 25 to 30 straight away. And for Juventus, this is the second time that they've sold a player who then went to Tottenham just very weeks or months after for huge money. And the other one being Romero, of course, who went to Atalanta, and then they sold him on the same summer after making that permanent for huge money. So I don't know. Maybe there's a bit of regret there at Juventus. Also, like I said before, it shows how well Genoa are doing. They are developing some really quality players. I mean, Goodmanson.
Well, the thing is, one thing I really think Genoa are doing really smart is that with Dragusin leaving, it won't hurt them as much because they have Alan Maturo in the squad there, who is a central defender from Uruguay, who was the best central defender in the Under-20 World Cup. Remember when the Uruguay beat Italy? He was the defender of the tournament, and he is a very good player. And he joined in January, well, exactly a year ago, signed for Genoa then. But yeah, so they do have a replacement in house, and I really rate Maturo, so I'm going to be very happy to see if he can get more playing time now.